Right then, strap yourselves in because it is time to count down the top 10 corners in F1. Little bit of housekeeping to start with. First of all, this is my opinion, so please don't be shouting at me in the comments section or anything like that. This is just what I think. Also, I'm only looking at corners on the current F1 calendar, and I have omitted the Dutch and Vietnam Grand Prix tracks, as, you know, we haven't really seen a race from there yet, so I don't think we can be judging the quality of the corners. Right then, let's get stuck in. My selection at number 10 on this list might well raise a few eyebrows, but hey, that's what we're here for. We're off to Mexico and turn 13. Now that might not be a corner that particularly stands out when they think of the greatest corners that are currently on the F1 calendar, but I have good reason for putting it in my top 10, and the reason is more to do with the grandstands that are surrounding it than the actual corner itself. I mean, the drivers, when they come through, they are absolutely surrounded by fans, and I just think it's really impressive. So the corner isn't particularly special, but its surroundings are. So that's why it secures 10th place on my countdown. Also, not forgetting the fact that it is where the podium celebrations take place, and in Mexico, we all know what that means. So that's my number 10. As I said, it might raise a few eyebrows, but I am trying to be fair to some of the newer tracks on the calendar. It would be way too easy just to pick 10 classic corners and say they're the best 10 corners on the calendar. But, you know, I'm going to throw a few curveballs into the mix, not least of which at number 9. We're off another new track for this one, the Circuit of the Americas and the Turn 16/17 section. Now that is gonna cause an absolute scene in the comments section. But I can explain. Let me explain. Come on, give me a second. It is a lovely sweeping right-hander towards the end of the track, but most importantly, it is pretty much an exact copy / replica of Istanbul Turn 8. Now, Istanbul Turn 8, whew, that was fantastic. That would be right up there in the top 3 for me. It was a fantastic corner. So anything that's going to even remotely try and replicate that is going to score high for me. So, you know, it loses points for being a direct copy, but it copied one of my favourites. So that's why it sits at 9th on my leaderboard. On to number 8. Surely this won't be another newbie track. Well, let's find out. Indeed not. We're off to Canada and we're going, of course, to turn 13/14, which of course is the home of the Wall of Champions. Villeneuve, Schumacher, Hill. I could go on with the number of legendary drivers that have been caught out by this particular corner, and therefore deserving it of a place in my top 10 corners. It's a very famous corner of the modern times. It's also a brilliant overtaking zone, so I couldn't really exclude it from my top 10. There we are. The Wall of Champions lives at number 8. What have we got for number 7 on this list then? Let's find out. Will it be a classic track? Indeed it will be. We're off to Monza, and surprisingly, we're going to Ascari for this one. Some people may have been expecting the Parabolica, of course, but we'll hold our horses on that. It may well feature later in the video, but as for Ascari, fast, exciting, very good to drive on the game, I may add, and that is my only experience driving an F1 car, so I can say on the game it's fun to drive. It's also potentially catastrophic, as Vettel and Stroll found out last season. Oh no! So there we are, number 7, straight out of Italy, Ascari. What's coming out the hat for number 6 then? Well, we're off to Azerbaijan for this one, and yep, it is the castle section we're going to look at for number 6. Maybe a surprising selection for this high in the top 10, but you know, it's a very attractive part of the track. And it is F1's narrowest point on the whole calendar, just 7.6 metres across, which I have found out to my own cost at times. We go through now, there's a big collection there. Oh, and it's smashed into me. Yep, so there we are. Azerbaijan's picturesque castle section is going to get the number 6 slot on this top 10. A welcome addition it has been to the Formula 1 calendar. And in fact, Azerbaijan on the whole, I think, has been a welcome addition to the Formula 1 calendar. Top 5 time now. This is where it starts to get really exciting. And where are we off to here? It's Brazil this time around. And we're going to the Senna S section. The S curves, if you prefer that name. Beautiful, smooth, thrilling. But enough about me. These corners are just fantastic. Named after a legend and have been the scene of many legendary moments. And the track on the whole really has been the scene of many legendary moments. But these curves for me are the pick of the bunch in Sao Paulo. So that's why I have handed them number 5 on this list. And now we really are. We're getting to the business end of the countdown now, so strap yourselves in. Because it really is the nitty-gritty at this stage. Number 4 then, we are going to go to Silverstone, and we're going to pick the Maggots and Beckett's sort of complexy, sectiony bit of the track. Oh, yeah, if I listen very carefully, I can hear the groans coming from people that are watching this around the world. I am British, I'm probably a bit biased towards Silverstone, but this is my top 10. You know, you're more than entitled to leave your thoughts in the comments section, but it is really a classic string of corners. So much so, in fact, it too was copied by the Circuit of the Americas. Just looking there at turns 3, 4 and 5, very similar to that area of the track in Silverstone. Also, the drivers always talk about how much they love Maggots and Beckett's. And driving on the game, it's great as well. So there we are. Number 4 for me is the very slick, very cool Maggots and Beckett's complex. Now we're getting to the real nitty-gritty. These are the corners now where even your non-F1 fans, when they see cars coming through these corners, their pants get dropped because it is very exciting. So, number 3, let's waste no time in getting stuck into the corner that takes bronze medal on this leaderboard. We're off to Japan. It's a classic. 130R for this one. And, well, one of many classic corners in Suzuka, but this one for me is by far the greatest. It's so satisfying when you come flying through and you absolutely nail it. And it's like a massive overtaking point on the track into the final chicane, so cars sometimes side by side. It is real pant-wetting stuff, even, as I say, for non-F1 fans. So 130R takes the bronze medal straight from Japan. And up next, number 2. This then, the corner that I think is second best on the entire F1 calendar. It is Monaco, and we're going down to turn 13/14, the first part of the swimming pool section. And do I really need to explain myself? Monaco alone is an absolute belter for very exciting corners. Even though my criticism of the race overall is well documented, some of the corners, you have to take your hat off for some of the marbles that are on show. I wouldn't fancy flying around there at 150 miles an hour. But this one is just the pick of the bunch for me. When you see the cars coming through here, they've got that camera just the other side of the corner, and they come flying through. Honestly, anyone that's not an F1 fan, as soon as they see that camera shot, they go, wow, okay, that's impressive. So there we are. My number 2 is going to be Monaco, turn 13/14 chicane, the first part of the swimming pool section. Now, before we get into the number 1 award, we're just going to rattle through some honourable mentions. I've got with me the sheet that I scrawled down about 20 corners on at the start of all this. I'll put a picture of it on the screen, and you can see there's a big long list there. Copse, Silverstone, a classic. The Parabolica, good, but it's not going to make the cut. Turn 7 in Austria is another belter. The Degner curve and the S-curves in Japan, among many others on that list that I think were worthy of a mention. But there is one gaping omission, and that is, of course, because it is number 1. So where are we going to go? We are, of course, going to Spa, the Belgian Grand Prix, and Radion, not Eau Rouge, is going to take number 1 for the greatest corner on the Formula 1 calendar. Not really a surprise. I think, everyone was kind of expecting this would be there or thereabouts. It is absolutely synonymous with Formula 1. It's beautiful to look at. All the drivers think it's mightily impressive as a corner, and it is the standout for me, really. I couldn't really give it to any other corner. For me, it's just the absolute standout on the whole calendar. A real picture every single season. So there we are, my favourite corner in F1, and probably yours too. But Radion takes the number 1 spot. I would, of course, welcome your thoughts in the comments section. This is just my opinion, but those top 3 or 4 there demonstrate that the corners that provide the greatest thrills are unfortunately often the ones where we see the greatest tragedies. And it's important not to forget that as we strive to make motorsport safer. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.